This is a habit I picked up from knitting, and actually I'm surprised I don't hear more quilters talking about it. Maybe they just don't do it. Maybe this isn't a quilter's thing, I don't know. But this one practice has the potential to help you level up your skills quickly and help relieve some of that quilting anxiety you might have. It's called a swatch. Actually, that's the knitting term. In the quilting world, you might call it a sample instead, but I'm going to refer to it as a swatch because that's a hard habit to break. In this video, I'm going to share 5 different reasons why I personally make a swatch, and if you can think of more applications, leave them in the comments section because I'm really curious. And stick around to the end of this video for some quick and easy ideas about how to use your swatches so they don't end up in the trash bin or just end up hanging around gathering dust. Swatches are great for testing out color combinations. Maybe you saw a trendy color palette on Instagram that you want to work with, but you don't want to commit to a whole quilt. Make a swatch, swatch it up. Maybe there's a color you're not very comfortable working with. For instance, in my own stash, I've had these for years and years, and I haven't done anything with them. And perhaps that's an indication that I need to learn how to work with yellows, maybe sneak them in to another palette and see if it works with that. Maybe a purple, I don't know, but I need to figure out how to work that in because it adds a little bit of a glow, doesn't it? And maybe my quilts have suffered from a lack of yellow, I don't know. A swatch would be a great way to find out. I made this swatch to test these colors on a dark background to see if they popped enough. And it also served as a great reminder that I needed to flip my letters so that they came out in the right orientation. But I could see from the swatch that this color doesn't pop as well as this one does or as well as this one does. And so it gave me a really good idea of what I could expect from a quilt without making that mistake over my entire quilt. Swatches can help you build up the courage to use up your precious fabric, the stuff you're hoarding, the out of print, the hard to find. Maybe it's a fabric from your favorite designer, or maybe it's even just something that has a sentimental value to you. For whatever reason, it's become impossible to use because it's become so precious to you. If you have already picked out a pattern, but you just can't get started, make a swatch. Make a swatch, it works every time. Use some scrap fabric and churn out a couple blocks and work your way out of your quilter's paralysis. My precious fabric is anything cute. I mean, look at that face. So cute. I can't cut into this fabric until I've made a swatch and I know 100% what I'm doing and what I can expect. Because I can't waste this fabric. Or this fabric or this fabric or any number of other fabrics I have. I also like to make swatches to double check that I am reading a pattern correctly. Because let's face it, some people are good pattern designers, but they're not very good pattern writers. I'm not naming any names and I'm not even complaining, it just happens. So making a swatch can be a great way to double check that you are reading things the way that they were intended to be read. In any case, it can be very helpful to make a swatch to double check that you 100% understand what the pattern writer is trying to say before you start cutting into your good fabric. I made this swatch because I had an idea kicking around in my head and I wanted to see if it worked out in real life, how it worked out in my mind. It did not, but it turned out pretty cool and I'm just going to chalk that up to a really great learning experience. Use a swatch to try out new techniques. I'm thinking foundation paper piecing, curves, the dreaded Y seam, things like that. I promise if you make a swatch, you are that much closer to mastering the skill. You are so much closer than if you had never tried it all. Making swatches is going to level up your skills so fast, and it helps you overcome that fear of failure and of wasting fabric. I made this swatch because I wanted to patch my niece's sweatshirt with Minky, and I wanted to test out what it looked like if I finished the edge by machine or by hand before I started working on her sweatshirt. So there's what the back looks like. And that made it so much easier to come at this project because it was her favorite sweatshirt. It was her coziest one. It was the one that made her feel safe, and I didn't want to experiment directly on her her favorite thing. So this was a great way to alleviate that fear of ruining something so precious to her. I also got this pattern recently, and I've done curves, but I've never done anything as complicated as these curves. So I knew I wanted to make a swatch before I dedicated all that time to cutting and piecing and then maybe failing at this block. And I'm so glad I did, because here is my swatch, and you can see it's rough, it needs some work. And I'm glad I can identify my trouble areas and what I need to work on using scraps rather than cutting into my good fabric. So very, very valuable tool for learning new skills. Swatches are also great for refreshing old skills. And actually, this is the reason why I'm making this whole video, because I've been working on a scrappy diamond quilt and I wanted to refresh my diamond sewing skills, and I'm glad I did, because this swatch is far from perfect, though I think it is pleasing to the eye in my opinion. But more importantly, it taught me what works and what doesn't work, or it re-taught me what works and what doesn't work. I also used the swatch to refresh how I cut with templates, and I'm glad I did, because by making this swatch, I found out that these corner pieces here that almost don't matter at all, I had designed them incorrectly, so it showed me it was wrong, and I've developed a way to fix it and make it more accurate. As an added bonus, it also helped me come up with a new no-mess marking technique to get my points to match. And you can see I kind of developed it towards the middle, and I hadn't learned it yet towards the edges. But that was an added bonus, and I'm going to be using that technique in the future. Leave me a comment in the comment section if you want to know what I'm talking about, and I'll make another video about it. By making swatches, you can easily and cheaply level up your quilting skills so fast. You can overcome your fear of failure, you can address your quilter's paralysis, and you can just start playing with fabric. But you may be asking, what do I do with the swatches after I've made them? And I have so many answers for you. You can hang them on the wall. This is for your favorite swatches. They unexpectedly speak to you and you want to look at them every day. Hang them on the wall. You can make pillows. These are for the swatches you like, but you don't mind if they get some wear and tear and cat hair. For instance, I made this pillow and my cat thinks it's his toy. So it's covered in hair and it's all snagged all over. But he loves it for some reason. He tackles it and kicks it around. You can add them to your quilt back. You can make a pieced quilt back. Or I was thinking I could cut this one down, square up this corner, and put it in the corner of a quilt and put my quilt label on top of it. Or I could even write in here if I wanted to. So, quilt label, that's a good idea. If you make all of your blocks the same size, like maybe you do a bunch of 6-inch or 10-inch squares, you could make a sampler quilt. This little swatch right here I'm going to use as a trivet or a hot pad. Just if you're going to do that, make sure you use 100% cotton batting, and you might want to add a couple layers. So keep that in mind if that's how you want to use your swatches. Some of them I just keep because they're a good reminder, like I need to flip my letters when I do applique. You could even use it to do, if you have a little block, you could use it as a patch when you're mending, or maybe you can just use it decoratively, like on a pocket or on the bottom of your pants, I don't know. But if you have a little tiny one, patch. Patches are great. Maybe you have a swatch that turned out terribly. You're not happy with it at all. You can cut it up and use it in a crumb quilt. And then it disappears and you haven't wasted that time or that fabric. There are many, many more ways to use them. I'm thinking coasters, mug rugs, toy quilts, but I think you get the idea. If you enjoyed this video, why not try another one? In this video here, I share a ruler hack that will double your rulers with one simple tool that you may already have. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you again real soon. Bye. Bye. Goodbye.